Hey, and you are very, very welcome back to FPL Fix. How are you guys doing? Well, I've good news. You're doing better than I did. I had an absolute mare. Got 32 points, took a hit, so that's actually 28 points. Gameweek rank of like 6 million, and I made a transfer after my last video, which ended up a 26-point mistake. Just a massive, massive amount of misfortune, and it was an error on my part. What do we do with our mistakes? We own them and we look forward. No point in dwelling on it. Had a very, very mixed week. Very, very emotional reaction to the game on Sunday, the Spurs game. And so basically, what I did was I had an injured Pulisic here for 8.5 million. Didn't look like he was going to play. My plan initially was to transfer Greenwood in for him, but then it seemed like Greenwood wasn't going to play, and that was the case. So both of them, um, my thought processes were those players didn't look like they were going to play. They ended up not playing, so I was right about that. But I ended up thinking, well, it's Pulisic going to sit on my bench for 8.5 million, and Kane, or I could bring in Fernandez and Martial for a hit um, against Palace. Looked like a good idea at the time. We all know what happened. Kane went on to get 4 assists and a goal and got 22 points, and Martial and Fernandez blank. The decision making process was good, but the outcome was obviously incredibly, incredibly poor. Couldn't possibly have been much worse. What am I going to do in this YouTube video? I'm just going to make it as brief as possible. Loads of good things to talk about. Recording this on a condenser mic. Came the whole way from Germany. Really, really good setup for the audio now, and there should be no issues going forward. So I'm really, really happy with that. Also, I plan to get myself on screen, maybe up in the corner here, just so you can see my face. It's a bit more interactive. And then still have music and animations in the pipeline too. So really, really really got loads of big plans going for the YouTube channel going forward. So thanks for coming back and listening to me rant. I'm not going to dwell too much. We're going to be optimistic. Going to be optimistic about this channel and about the FPL going forward. Just briefly going to go through the games. Most people watching this will probably have seen the game, so I'm just going to briefly go through, I suppose, what to look out for. Dominic Calvert-Lewin got a hat trick for 7.2 million. He looks like he's well worth that price tag. James Rodriguez got a goal and an assist. West Brom really look like a team that you can target for goals, so I will be targeting them going forwards for goals. If I have a player playing against them, I will nearly be captaining them if they're good captaincy options. So everything still look really, really good, and they will form, some Everton players will form part of my wildcard team. Leeds just look like they're not going to change the way they play at all. It doesn't matter whether they're playing Liverpool or newly promoted Fulham, they just go for it. They're not going to keep too many clean sheets by the look of it, but they're going to score plenty of goals. Helder Costa, I think, scored 2 goals. Klitsch's on penalty, he scored again. So really cheap options, around 5.5 million potentials to get in. I wouldn't be rushing to get any of the defenders in, but by God, I definitely would be getting in some of their attackers to keep playing like this. Fulham, I said in game week 2, the video last week, if you're Mitrovic, don't worry about it, don't panic. He'll probably play the second game and he could score in the second game. That's exactly what happened. He scored 2 goals for 6 million. You can't really go wrong. And fair play to you if you held on to him. Just kind of shows the value of being patient, unlike me. So here we go, Manchester United. I suppose the other big mistake I made was I put in 2 players in a team that we hadn't seen play yet. And as we saw, Man United just weren't at the races when it came back. So Bruno sat really, really deep, and it's really, really worrying, I suppose, from an FPL point of view if you have him, because like 10.5 million, he needs to be getting on the ball. He's going to get goals, he's going to get penalties, he's going to get set pieces and free kicks, but for 10.5 million, he looks like he's sitting deep. And if Van de Beek came on, he scored a goal, but Van de Beek took the centre attack in mid position. Will Fernandez keep that position? It's hard to know. So I'd be really worried about holding on to him going forwards. Palace looked really, really good. Zaha scored twice. Zaha only scored 4 goals last season, but he scored 2 last night. So he could be an option going forward. They've good fixtures. I wouldn't be punting on him because he's a bit like, I wouldn't trust him. bit like Sam Maximan, just one of them players I wouldn't trust. But if you're brave, I'd go for him. Palace do look great defensively too. Um, Arsenal, excuse me, Arsenal. Captain Aubameyang, he got another return. Hasn't done much wrong, but it's just for that 12 million price tag, you expect more. You expect more from your captaincy options. For 12 million, you're expecting like double-digit hauls every second week, really. And it's not that he's not done that much wrong. It's just that for that kind of 12 million, there's so many other options in the Man City team in particular that a lot of people will be moving him on this week to kind of put that value somewhere else. Did watch this game, and Souček, unbelievable. Like, he's got such a tricky run of fixtures, but he literally gets into the box as a second striker every time the ball goes out wide. So I definitely will be looking at him when their fixtures change. But West Ham are just a big, strong team. They love balls into the box, and they did cause Arsenal lots of problems. Antonio scored, so that was an interesting game. This is a horror show. This is where my 26 point hit. And 26 points of a difference in the decision. I had Kane week 1, took him out, and then he scores 22 points. Also took hit as well. So, just what did we learn from that game, I suppose, apart from me beating myself up about it? Kane and Son. Son plays as a second striker when against a team that has a high line, like Southampton. Southampton played in a crazy high line, and that's how Son got in behind for the 4 goals, like literally just running in behind. So I suppose if you're looking forward, I think Southampton are playing Chelsea in week 5. I'd be holding on to Werner for that game because a bit of pace in behind. If to keep playing a high line, it just looks so devastating. And Son 4 goals. Listen, it's unprecedented. It happened last year when Antonio got 4 goals as a midfielder against Norwich. In this game, Son got 4 goals and assists. Like, it's up there with one of the best FPL performances in 1 week. I took Kane out, as I said, 22 point mistake. Really, really tricky, but we're going to be optimistic. We're not going to dwell on it. I did have Ings. He scored 2 goals, 1 goal from open play, which was brilliant, and 1 penalty. So he was good to have. He was the only real productive thing that happened in my week. And Brighton, great result against Newcastle. Lamptey looks great running down that right hand side. Right wing back in there, 5 at the back. Brighton look good defensively. And yeah, not much more to say there. I'll be getting Lamptey into my wildcard team. In this game, Christensen got sent off. Hauled Mane down. Mane scored twice. So, a lot of Salah owners, he hauled in week 1. Mane hauls in week 2. It looks like it'll be one game or the other for these two boys. They're going to share the goals. Mane is just as good an option if you ask me. The only thing tipping it in Salah's favour is that he has penalties. Chelsea, it's hard to know by. As I said, that early red card really just hampered their play. Havertz started up front in like a false 9 and Werner was out wide on the left. Havertz got taken off then and Werner played through the middle. So Havertz did score a hat-trick last night in the League Cup display, so Havertz could come good, especially if Frank Lampard's going to play him up front or just behind the striker, really attack him for 8.5 million. Just keep an eye on him. He could really light up the league still. Didn't really look at the races in the first 2 game weeks, but it's going to take him. He did only arrive in the country a week before week 1. Like, he hasn't had a chance to gel, and Chelsea in general haven't had a chance to gel. But I do expect him to come good. Leicester, where are we here? So yeah, Leicester. Listen, Vardy didn't even get a look in. I'd say if you're a Vardy owner, it must be very frustrating to watch Leicester score 4 goals and him not even get an assist. The only player I suppose you could be watching there is Justin. Very, very good. Stan, a new signing, gets 2 assists. I think he's leading the defender charts. 5.5 million is very, very expensive for him, but he's justifying the price tag now. And Barnes gets in the goal and assist. So I know he was in a lot of people's teams. For 7 million, he looks like a great shout. And then Burnley scored 2. Chris Wood would have a bit of ownership, and so would Taylor, who got an assist. Then just to compound the misery, I wasn't really sure was I going to make the decision to do the wild card or not. But John Egan goes and gets sent off after 11 minutes, and that compounds. That makes my decision easy for me. I was on the fence: will I wild card, will I not? Then this man goes and gets sent off. The man loves a red card. People were saying it was a harsh enough red card, but he got it. Good man, John Egan. So Thanks very much. And Villa then, interesting signing for Villa is their goalkeeper Martinez, coming from Arsenal, makes a penalty save, brilliant. And 4.5 million, he's now become the third option for 4.5 million um, goalkeeper. So would wouldn't be a bad shout for a 4.5 wildcard if you're going that way. And then Wolves, Man City. Listen, Kevin De Bruyne, and people were asking the question, which asset do we get in for week 3? Who does Aubameyang turn to in week 3? People were looking at the safe bet, Kevin De Bruyne, or the kind of a bit more of a punt, Sterling, more explosive. The theory, I suppose, prior to week 1, prior to week 2, was that we didn't really know how attacking Kevin De Bruyne is going to play. Is Aguero playing? All this kind of stuff. But now we know Aguero's injured for a month or potentially 2 months. And Kevin De Bruyne would just absolutely bomb forward in that game. Got a goal, got an assist. He's on penalties, and if you looked at his average, where he was playing for most of the game, he was playing just behind he was literally right behind him. His average attacking position. He's going to be the main man driving every attack. He's not going to be sitting as deep as he did last season. So he just looks like a great shout. I am going to go through my wildcard draft. Because we are looking forward and not backwards. So just a couple of things to consider with the wildcard. Do you need to wildcard? That's kind of an important thing. My team probably wasn't in too bad of a shape. It's just that John Egan red card. But I go through the number of players that I wanted to get out. So for me, not happy with McCarthy at all. He still has good fixtures, but wasn't happy with him. Egan obviously has the red card. He needs to go. Doherty, Spurs don't look like they're playing like they were. Like Doherty doesn't look like he's going to be played in the same way that he played with Wolves. He's not going to be utilised as effectively. Like Spurs scored 5 goals last night and after the weekend, and Doherty wasn't a part of any of them. So just not worth 6 million at all. Definitely was worth in the Wolves team, but definitely not in this team. Also, Spurs look like they're conceding much more than Wolves were. So for 6 million, he's out too. Obviously, Man United not happy with his transfer in at all. Bit of a knee jerk. I don't think their Martial is that bad of an option going forward. But I've discussed Fernandes sitting way too deep, and it's a no for me. Ward-Prowse not happy with it all, and Aubameyang needs to move on because that 12 million can be spent on a Man City asset. So that's why I'm wildcarding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 players. That's enough for me to trigger the wildcard. 7 players I'm not happy with. For you, it could be 5, it could be 8. But I'll just go through my wildcard now. And it's time to be optimistic because I am really, really looking forward. Another thing to consider with the wildcard is we need to be looking forwards, not just looking back at week 1 and 2 where the form is, who's hitting good form, who looks good value, but also looking forward to fixtures. So it's fixtures where the value is, and it's not always apparent pre-season where the value is, what way players are going to play. There's a lot of unknowns, but after 2 weeks we kind of know enough. And wildcard's very, very popular this week. A lot of people are wildcarding. So in goals, I'm going with Gaeta. Now he's 5 million. People think that's a bit expensive. It's an extra 0.5. You could just get one of them 4.5 million or goalkeepers in there. I'll tell you why I don't want one of the 4.5 million goalkeepers. Not convinced with McCarthy at all. Don't want him in there. Brighton, Matt Ryan, he's an option. Not really convinced with him either. And as I said, Martinez has emerged as a third option. Villa are okay defensively, but this man has better fixtures, 0.5 million more, but we just know this man's a really reliable goalkeeper, and loves a bit of bonus points. Got 10 points in week 1, and we're not looking back at week 1, we're looking forwards. And look at this, looking forward, just green. I will say one thing to say about fixture difficulty rating. I wouldn't always trust it. Like Everton at home, green fixture, not really. Like Everton are really, really lighting it up. So the colours don't always fully indicate how easy it is, but they are in a good indication. And I'd be looking at each fixture and make up your own mind as well. But very good fixtures, and I'm very, very happy to have them in. Just in general, Palace look really, really good defensively. I did say in week 1 that they were a team's target potentially for goals he scored against because there's so many injuries. But Hudson, he at the end of last season, they had their 40 points, and it just seemed like he was like, lads, go out and play. He didn't really care. But now it's the start of a new season. He wants to get safety. He wants to make sure of those defensive performances, and they just looked rock solid against both Southampton and Man United. Now it's hard to know whether Man United were just poor, which they were appalling, or were Palace really good defensively. But I think it's a bit of both, and you have to give them credit for two great performances, the 2 wins under their belt. So really happy to have him in there. Now on to James, really interesting option going forward. He looks like he's nailed that right back position. Azpilicueta is fit and still sitting on the bench. Chelsea have completed the signing of Mendy, and that'll get rid of the Kepa situation. It'll help keep Chelsea to keep more clean sheets. So it makes him a really interesting prospect and a really good option. 5.1 million. He's also on corners, so there's good assist potential there, and I'm just really happy to have him. 5 million into that Chelsea defence, and Chelsea will improve defensively with the new goalkeeper. So then we've got this man Taylor. So Charlie Taylor got 1 assist all the last season, and he ends up getting 1 assist in the first game he plays this season. So happy to have him. People are tending to forget how good Burnley are at keeping those clean sheets. But they did concede 4 goals against a lesser team. So will they be as good defensively this year? We'll find out. But 4.5 million into that Burnley defence, I think he's a great option. Size, had him in week 1. Interesting enough, I'd say a lot of people are wildcarding this week, and I'll tell you why. You can see it from the stats. 15 points here in week 1. His price didn't go up, but his price has just gone up there last night, and that's after a 1-point performance against Man City. But that's because everyone is wildcarding and getting him in. He looks he's nailed in that team. He did give away the penalty for the Man City Kevin De Bruyne penalty, but listen, he's a great defender. 5 million nailed on, and that was defence, and I won't be taking him out. He's one of the players that's staying in my team. Now on to Value Town. Getting a train to Value Town, it's Podence, and he was electric in that game against. He got the assist for the goal. He could have scored 2 more goals. It looks like he's playing up front. 5.5 million, got up to 5.6. I got him in at 5.5 just before the price rise, and he's got 2 assists in the first 2 games. He's Jota's replacement. Now I know Wolves have completed the signing of Semedo, who's going to play right back. That could push. Podence forward. Podence looks like he's going to be playing up there. In the 4-3-3, he kind of played up front last night with Jimenez. So just really good attacking option for that price. Traore is the man who was saying that Podence might push forward. But Podence, he is competing with Neto for the starting place, but it looks like he has it. So very good to have him going forwards. Salah, I did consider not having him in my draft, to free up points. I just think that's a bit of a dangerous move. He's a great captaincy option, week 4 against Villa, week 7 against West Ham, and there's no need to kind of go without him. I probably played a couple of extra, too many extra risks in week 1 and week 2, so trying to just settle and keep him in my team. Some people are considering captain for this week. I won't be captaining him this week. Kevin De Bruyne, I discussed already in the Wolves and City game. He just is taking up so many attacking positions right behind the striker. He's going to be driving that Man City team forward, and he's getting into way more attacking position than he seemed to be last year. So 11.5, he's into my team. Also a great captaincy option this week. Son, bit of a knee jerk, scores 4 goals, you get him in your team. But it's not that simple, He does look like a great option. Sometimes Mourinho plays 4-2-3-1 and he hugs the touchline, but when he's playing as that second striker, he's just explosive. For 9 million and he's playing up front, it's just devastating. His price dropped after week 1, went back up now. As expected, his ownership will skyrocket, but I'm really happy to have him. Good short-term fixtures, even medium-term up to game week 8. So, happy to have him in there. Kane's another good option. I just can't afford him. Donald Calvert-Lewin, still not completely convinced with this man. 4 goals in 2 games, you're like, what's not to be convinced with? But remember, after lockdown, he went on a 9-game streak of not scoring. So he is a streaky kind of player, but he's certainly in form now. And for 7.2 million, there probably isn't better value in the game. Really devastating from corners, from set pieces. Great man to head the ball. I do prefer Richarlison. If I could stretch to Richarlison, I would. He just looks more attacking from open play. Loves shooting. Has hit way more shots. And yeah, everything just looked good. You might see, look at my midfield, don't have James Rodriguez just because I don't have room for him in there, but I think he's a great shout too. Now on to Werner. Listen, Werner gets an assist in each of the first two games. He's just explosive, running through the middle. As I kind of discussed, will Chelsea click? We're kind of waiting for them to click. Havertz scores a hat-trick last night in the EFL Cup. Looks like he's kind of getting into a bit of form. If he can get into a bit of form, him and Werner will be linking up and scoring lots of goals, you'd imagine. Werner's great assist potential as well. Likes to be fouled in the box. That's what he got his 2 assists from in the first 2 games. So I'm delighted to have him. He's going to be my captain this week. Essentially just because he's playing West Brom, you know. West Brom, as discussed, great team to target for goals, and I'm just delighted to have him. I'd say Chelsea will score a lot of goals, and Werner nailed on in that team, and hopefully that they will click at the right time. I suppose the best captaincy options are probably these 3. If you really want to go for a punt, it's this man here, Jimenez. Really like him. 2 tough starting fixtures, and he scores in each of them. Raul Jimenez. His nickname is the Postman because he always delivers. Might not score too many high point hauls, might not score 12 or 14 points very often, but very regularly he will score you 8 or 9 points. And as I said, Wolves are just a great team. Look at this Sea Green. He is just brilliant. 5 green games in a row. Unbelievable fixtures, and I'm delighted to have him in there. We are going to discuss a few alternatives now. So, other good options in your starting 11. So, you could, instead of having Son and Donald Calvert-Lewin, you could have Kane and Klitsch. Klitsch for Leeds is on penalties. He's probably not going to score as much from open play. Kane, but they're both on penalties. It depends how much you value penalties. Penalties look like they're going to be very valuable, especially with the new handball rules. Loads of penalties in week 1 and week 2. But for me, it's Son and Calvert-Lewin just because they're better from open play. And I'm just going to briefly go through my subs. So Burke, really interesting option. Anyone that watched the game, Sheffield United and Villa, this man was playing up front. Could he be the new Lord Lundstrom? What happened in that game was John Egan got sent off after 10 minutes. This man was playing up front with David McGoldrick, and David McGoldrick got taken off. This man stayed up front, so he looks like he really is the first choice striker, and he's 4.5 million as a midfielder. Could he be the next Lord Lundstrom? Lundstrom played in defence for 4 million, and he ended up playing in midfield. This man plays in midfield and looks like he could be playing up front for Sheffield. So keep an eye on him. People haven't really seemed to catch on to him yet. Team selected by it's only 1.1%. So I expect that to go through the roof when people see that he's playing up front. But get him in there. You can expect his price to rise, even if you just want the value of your team to go up. And then Lamptey, discussed already, bombing down that right hand side, 2 assists, 1 in each of the first games, and very happy to have him going forward. And then Ferguson had Mitchell in there, did well, but just Mitchell's not going to hold his place when Patrick Van Aanholt comes back. So Ferguson looks like he'll be shooing for that right back position, and Gaeta has me covered for the clean sheet. So this man will be back in a couple of weeks, and that is it really. That's my wildcard team. Really optimistic. Really looking forward to this week. Had a rough week this week or last weekend. Was really questioning making this video. Thanks for everyone who sent me kind words of encouragement. Plenty of people didn't send me so kind words. There was lots of slagging and banter going on, saying how are you going to make a YouTube channel now? But real thanks for people who sent me encouragement messages. You know, you're going to have highs and lows. This is definitely one of the lowest weeks in my FPL career. The last 2 seasons I started quite strongly, started quite well, so this is quite a tough experience for me, not starting very well. I think my Gameweek rank is absolutely abysmal, 3.9 million. Good thing about that is things can only improve. The channel's going to improve, my rank's going to improve, my team has already improved, and I am really looking forward to the future. So hope you have gotten something from this video, and thanks for listening to me for the last couple of minutes, and best luck with your own wildcard if you are wildcarding, and I will talk to you very soon. Cheers, bye bye.